Hi folks, welcome back to 2.0. Mark, how you doing? Putin says preparations for nuclear war are underway and hopefully speeding up. I know we've been hearing about this for weeks, folks, and majority of us are going, well, we're starting to not believe it, but I think it has to come sooner or later. I don't know to what end or anything, but sorry about that, folks, I had to do that. But Russian President Vladimir Putin is preparing to use nuclear forces if NATO do not retreat from countries on the Russian border. Latvia, Estonia, Poland, etc. I don't think Poland, anyway. Alright, according to this, secret meeting of the figures of Moscow and Washington revealed Putin will consider any attempt to return the Crimean Peninsula to Ukraine as a declaration of war and will take necessary steps, including using nuclear weapons, to retain control of the region. And according to the subtitle, if the NATO countries do not remove the NATO forces from their borders, they will get nuked as well. Yeah, along with the NATO countries, I imagine. Don't worry, this is actually a lot longer than what it looks like. Why this is spaced out, I don't know. Ever since net neutrality, the internet's been shit. Look at all these advertisements, this is bad. But notes from the meeting are also said to reveal that Putin is planning imminent destabilizing actions in pro-Western Baltic states in direct challenge to NATO's promise to defend countries from Soviet-style Russian expansion. These disturbances are thought to likely involve cyber attacks, ramping up local ethnic tensions in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, key NATO countries on the Russian border, to unsettle the region. Notes from the top secret meeting between American and Russian officials in Germany last month have reportedly been seen by the Times. They suggest Russia is preparing to respond with forces and force to build up of NATO defense forces. Let me repeat this. They suggest Russia is prepared to respond with force to the build up of NATO defense forces in the Baltic and by carrying out a wave of cyber attacks that cannot be traced back to Moscow. Well, if you've already said it, folks, it doesn't matter whether or not they can back it up. If you've already said it and they're coming, that's what's going to happen, and they know who's going to do it. But Kremlin officials already briefed Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov before the meeting and spoke on behalf of Putin, are said to have issued a spectrum of responses from nuclear to non-military in response to a growing NATO army in the region, as well as the situation in the Baltics. Two other potential flashpoints were reported, identified, and that could lead to nuclear war between Russia and the West, our ongoing conflict in Ukraine, and the future attempt to return the annexed Crimean Peninsula to the Ukrainians. In Crimea, Russia is understood to have said that any attempt to remove the region from Russian control would meet forcibly, including the use of nuclear forces. I'm going to go ahead and drop this off in a second, folks. This is getting too repetitive. You know what it says. Meanwhile, Moscow described NATO's supply of weapons to Ukraine in the hope of defeating pro-Russian rebels in the east of the country as a further encroachment of the Russian border. Yeah, looks like a good place to stop. Let me just read this next one. Russian people would demand a forceful response to such advances, the Kremlin intelligence chiefs reported. Yep, okay, that's pretty much good. So what do we know? One, everybody's kind of get pissed off that, these guys are on Russia's doorstep. Two, we know Putin's been saying nukes long enough that nobody's taking him seriously anymore. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, it's Putin, don't worry. You know. Second one I would say is, you know, this has been going long enough, folks. There's not much I can really say. You know, annex Crimea, don't annex Crimea. Take Crimea, don't take Crimea. Use a proxy force, don't use a proxy force. But get this fucking shit over with, please. That's all I'm going to say. This is why we have 8-year wars for it, folks. Because the people in power don't want to fucking do anything. Alright, it was a Russian sub-state before. They want it again. Notice they're not going after any of the other Baltic... any of the other Baltic states. For some reason it is Ukraine and it is Crimea. And I really want to know why, folks. I really do want to know why. But this is the situation.